This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people
footage than this, fellas.
who witnessed this.
We're gonna have to get a better news source then.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bo Mason.
This is a horrible source right now. I'm going to find a better one.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. Today at approximately 12:20 Mountain Standard Time, political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot in an event at the Utah Valley University. He was taken by private vehicle to Timpanogos Hospital, where he later passed. The Utah Department of Public Safety will be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual.
Of course.
This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people who witnessed this traumatic event. We know that what you experienced was very difficult. Our thoughts are with you as well. As soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake Field Office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages. We are following all the leads and all the evidence. If anyone has any information, please report it
I
to
don't
the
get
FBI or
how
law enforcement. Thank you.
there's not even one lead right now. And the lead that they knew damn well that wasn't the guy.
With, and she's on her way back right now. I say that on behalf of
Good thing they charged his ass with
we are
obstruction.
shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to 2 young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now, to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah. Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends, and we mourn as a nation. Nothing I can say right now, if anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans. With that, we're happy to take a few questions.
The FBI director is posting that a suspect is in custody. I would just like clarification. Do you or do you not have a suspected shooter in custody?
We have a person of interest in custody that is being interviewed right now.
That is not George Zinn.
That is not George Zinn. That is correct.
Is there any indication of foreign involvement?
looking for another shooter or anybody else related to this?
Yes, we are actively looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to the shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where? How long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Can you guys talk about the possible shooter?
Do you want to talk about what we know there? Yeah.
The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed-circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you believe the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a fair, potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
So did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak to that.
I'll just say that the investigation's ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be sure to release it.
Any indications of foreign intelligence involvement?
As of now, I can't comment on any of that.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise, and what happens on these kind of events?
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we're devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. Obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer that visits their home. That's tragic. Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area, and so he was kind of in a lower area, surrounded by buildings. We had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. We train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and these things, unfortunately, they happen. You try to get your bases covered,
And unfortunately, today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident. So we did have officers there. We had Charlie Kirk's team. He has a security team that travels with him, and they were here with him when he was shot.
Was the gun recovered?
I'm sorry, see?
Was the weapon recovered?
At this point, I can't disclose that.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, there was a question being asked about mass shootings. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
Say the question again. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
What kind of weapon was used?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for just one more question, so thank you.
Yeah, a question for the chief as well. Was it your team or Kirk's team or a combination of both that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. You know, he has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and so yeah, we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot? Was this a
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today. Again, thank you for covering this. We will be updating you as soon as we have additional information through normal channels, working with law enforcement. Again, our deepest condolences to the Kirk family and to the students who were there today. I would just ask everyone everywhere to please pray for their family and to pray for our country. We need it now more than ever. Thank you.
To our media partners, we will be sending a release out with updates through one channel of information, whether it's DPS or FBI. So please make sure that you fill out the Google form with updates specific to this incident. Thank you.
Oh man.
I would say it's like having another producer in the room that knows exactly what your song needs. This is co-producer, the fastest.
About this attack, plans for this attack, who might have aided it. So that's a very important part of this investigation that's underway right now. They're also going to get a search warrant for all of the electronic devices, cell phones, laptops, anything else where this individual might have communicated with others, and they're going to pull all of that in, review all of that. So the clock starts ticking now on that part of the investigation. While they're doing that, they're building a timeline of everything that this individual did leading up to the moment of pulling that trigger.
And I know we're looking ahead, but also a look back at what happened this afternoon. One thing that stood out to both of us during that press conference is hearing how many officers from the University Campus Police were actually on the ground out there. He was saying 6 officers, possibly more, that were also in plainclothes. He said that plainclothes officers were also there. But when you hear that some 3,000 people were in attendance, what goes in your head then?
Not a secure location. Wide open, no cover, no checkpoints, no metal detectors. Already, just the fact that they held the event at that location, law enforcement is at a disadvantage to keep it safe. But there are things that they could have done. And there you heard the police earlier acknowledge that they might have been able to prevent this. But to have somebody on a roof in an open air university like that, very difficult to prevent. But had they had more eyes, more resources, maybe somebody would have seen something, said something, and apprehended that person before they took that shot.
And we're already hearing about events being postponed or canceled, political ones, because of what happened with security plans perhaps being re-examined. Do you think that other colleges or other venues could change the way they approach security given what happened here today?
Absolutely. At least in the short term, there is going to be a message that goes out wide to campus law enforcement, regionally and wider across the country. Everybody's going to be on high alert given that. Already, law enforcement in the big cities were on high alert because tomorrow's September 11th. We are in a heightened threat environment. But looking out and finding that lone wolf before they attack, that is the hardest thing for law enforcement to do. Everybody's going to be ramping up security right now, essentially, at campuses, but other institutions around the country.
I know hindsight is 20/20, especially in cases like this, but when you do recognize that there was outcry and that people were not happy with Charlie Kirk's appearance on that campus and that this was the first stop on a widely publicized tour that he was kicking off on, what should have been different?
Well, first of all, you should have had other law enforcement partners there, because one small campus security police and even Provo police, they might not have had the resources to adequately secure this location.
Even for crowd control, if nothing else, when you have 3,000 people in one space like that.
That's right. And, you know, people get sick. You usually, if it's a highly publicized event, you'll have, you know, EMS teams. You might have a couple of ambulances just to make sure if somebody gets sick or needs help, that there are first responders there. So the fact that they were so was not ideal, obviously. Hindsight is 20/20. I think there was a certain level of comfortability if he might have felt, well, you know, I bring this healthy debate and thought largely we're in sort of a friendly crowd. And I think that's where law enforcement can make the mistakes where they think that they're in a friendly crowd environment. They say, yes, let's go with an open air venue where anybody can walk in. And we heard
that was part of the
spectators.
appeal also for Kirk to have people come in and be able to have anyone sit down in front of him and talk to him.
That's right. Now, he did have a security team, so he was aware of a certain threat level, but he didn't seem to be, you know, he was out there speaking confidently. I mean, we watch all our politicians doing the same thing every day. It is impossible to have a 100% secure environment, particularly if you're choosing to hold an event outside like this one.
I know you've been urging caution in how we approach motive from the very, very start as soon as we heard this news come down. At the same time, it is hard to ignore the fact that he is such a prominent conservative figure. And this is all happening, of course, in the backdrop of quite a few targeted shootings that we have seen just in the past year or so that have played out. Luigi Mangione, of course, also behind one of those with United Healthcare. What does that say to you about where we are and this, you know, the landscape in which this is all happening?
Well, we've had quite a number of very high-profile targeted assassinations and assassination attempts over the last 18 months. So really a very heightened threat environment. But what I will say about the motive is there have been perpetrators also at school shootings, at other high-profile targeted attacks, where it was sort of a free-for-all, any motive, a person with a documented mental health history who was grabbing at whatever was in the zeitgeist, using that as motivation. So that's why in the immediate aftermath of these kinds of shootings, we want to be very careful because we don't know what kind of writings this person might have had, what kind of online spaces they might have been frequenting. We don't know. We can suspect, and you just heard the governor of the state of Utah say this was a targeted political assassination. He might have information that we don't have, but at this point, we don't have information that supports that.
Which is why we always appreciate your context through all of this. Anna Schechter, thank you very much for today. And Brandon Russin joins us now. Brandon was there and saw all this happen. Brandon, I'm so sorry for what you've experienced today. Can you walk us through what you saw?
Yeah, thank you so much. I I was just standing there about maybe 15 feet in front of Charlie, probably it was in the standing area, the standing crowd, maybe 3 people back behind the guardrail, and we were just enjoying listening to him answering questions. And before I continue, I don't think this is being covered. I don't know if any witnesses have come out and said that one of the last things that Charlie declared before the shot rang out was that Christ is Lord and that he defeated death. And I just find that very poetic, despite this tragedy. After that declaration, he moved on to the next question, which during that time was when the shot rang out, and it just seemed like everything went in slow motion. It didn't seem real for that split second, and then and I saw very up close the graphic detail of what happened. And at that point, me and the friend that I was with and the crowd around us ducked down and quickly got on the ground.
It sounds like an incredibly harrowing experience that you had to go through, Brandon. When you did see this unfold so close to you, you said that you got on the ground. Can you talk a little bit about that immediate reaction of the crowd that was around you? I know there were so many students that were there.
Yeah, I think it took probably 1 second for everyone to process what had just happened, and all of a sudden we were all piling on the ground. I just remember instinctively shouting, "No, no, no, no." I reached for my phone to text my wife and to tell her that there was a shooter, and that I loved her in case anything happened to me. And at that point, we were on the ground for about a minute, and I think that not hearing any more shots ring out gave everyone the confidence to just start running to the buildings. And so that's what we did.
Brandon, a lot has also been made today about what kind of safety measures were in place. Can you tell us about what you saw when you were there? What kind of safety apparatus that you had to go through, if any, and what your thoughts are on that now?
I'm going to be completely honest. When I walked into this courtyard, the first thing that I thought, with everything that's happened in the past decade or few years, the first thing I thought was, I hope they have good security here, because this does not seem like a safe place for Charlie to be giving his message. In terms of the layout of the courtyard, not in terms of the people, which like she was saying earlier, it was a mostly friendly crowd.
Stoney. Sorry, I was
and
looking
so
down.
just the layout of the courtyard, that was my initial thought, is that this does not seem very safe.
What drew you to go there to begin with?
I love hearing debate. I'm not totally engaged in politics, but I think the dialogue in this country is extremely important. And I think Charlie was a very, very intelligent man, and I appreciate hearing his evidence for his claims, and hearing the debate on the other side too, and hearing that dialogue. That's initially what drew me.
An important dialogue to have. Brandon Russin, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And we are going to have continuing coverage of the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah. But first, we are going to take a quick break. You're watching The Daily Report.
The way that today turned out to be is freaking ridiculous, man. I'd never woke up and
What
thought
happens
that
when you get
I
conversation
would
over
see something like that happen.
Anyone
to
that
somebody
doesn't
like
agree
Charlie
women
today.
should be in the submarine
And
force
I'm gonna
has
keep
to
it
ask themselves why they would think
reiterating
about that.
I
think
will
they've taught me
hope that
to have grace and compassion.
Candace
When we follow
and some
the
of the other
human side of the
conservative
headline. Life is a little
mouthpieces.
bit different now.
I'm gonna say
It's gonna take a while
mouthpieces
to get
because
used to.
that sounds like
And
a
I say it
negative
to
term,
myself
but
that I can't
some of
make
those
this about me.
when we put people before
Some of the other conservative speakers
What would happen if it was harder for Mexican
get
residents
more
to
security
come over to
and
work
kind of
in
like
Presidio?
I think we'd be
not
in
take a
serious
step
trouble.
back because in this
What
moment,
happens when
I
you
think that
experience
situations like this cause for you
I'm
to
shocked
push out
at
a
how
little bit
devastating
harder,
this
let people know that you're not stopping
How bad is it in
anything,
your house?
but be more cautious when it comes to security
news
protocols
takes you where
and
the
protecting
story
yourself because
We've just
people
crossed
are
into
crazy.
Lebanon.
They'll reach out and touch somebody like
When the world's best journalists
like
come
Charlie,
together
let you know
to
that they don't
cover
care
your
about
world,
nobody.
You get the all-new CBS Evening
This
News.
was not just
every weeknight.
a disgruntled person.
Ready?
who didn't
Yeah,
like
ready.
Charlie.
1, 2, 3.
This was, in my opinion, planned.
Look at this outfit. Amazing. Give me some love, baby. We got a toy. Look at this. Oh, no! Time for another quick meal you can make any night of the week. We've got tips to save on clothes, tech, and more.
All I got here is nothing short of like a miracle. Like higher power.
Talent.
That's done.
It's a
that was
bright,
done
bright,
by
bright
somebody
way to
with
start
a
your
lot
day.
of
See you
power.
On CBS Mornings.
Here comes a big one.
What I've seen.
You don't just reach out and touch them like that in a crowd full of people.
This is the pager
What's
that
going on,
Hezbollah
Pinky?
was using.
How is this
Oh,
possible?
come on.
Come on.
Whoa.
Wow.
Ask me the hard-hitting
You don't just reach out and touch somebody like that and kill them in broad day and all in front of all those people.
60 minutes.
Just
Is
as
this
a
what you
regular
want?
person, you're being directed to do that by somebody
It's time
very,
for the
very
CBS
high up.
News original 60 Minutes, Sundays on CBS.
And then on top of that, you had another guy to think like he was the person who.
I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to The Takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Chen. You are watching The Daily Report, and we do begin this hour with that breaking news out of Utah following the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Utah's governor says a person of interest is now in custody. Kirk, the CEO and founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA, was on the first stop of his American Comeback tour. The 31-year-old was speaking to an audience at the time at the campus of Utah Valley University, and the school says that at about 12:10 local time, just after noon there in Utah, a shot was fired at the speaker, Kirk, and it says that he was hit and taken from the location by his security.
We were just talking about how people
outpouring of support right now from across the country. President Trump, though, who Kirk was a fierce ally of, wrote on Truth Social,
and these people get
the
so
great
angry
and
to where
even
they'll go and
legendary
assassinate
Charlie
somebody
Kirk
like
is
that
dead. No one
in front of
understood or had the
thousands of
heart of the
people,
youth in
hundreds
the
of
United
people.
States of America better than
crazy.
Charlie. He went on to pass along his condolences from both him and First Lady Melania Trump to Kirk's family. Now, in honor of Kirk, the president has ordered all American flags in the country to be lowered to half-staff until Sunday evening. For more on this, let's bring in Anna Schechter. She is the senior coordinating producer for the Crime and Public Safety Unit. Anna, I know we've been talking about this all afternoon as this news has been coming into our newsroom, but what are law enforcement officials now saying about the person in custody?
I was just saying that.
They say that there is a
she's the
surveillance
one
video that shows a person wearing dark clothing,
I've been more worried
potentially
about
on
her
a
than
roof, taking
anybody.
the shot from that roof,
So
and they are still
this to come
pinning
just
down if the
left field
person of
from
interest
to
that they have in
Charlie,
custody is
she definitely
definitively
has to be
that
careful.
individual
100% I
that
agree.
they're seeing in those videos. And so they're still piecing this together, but it appears that they
1000%.
do have the shooter in custody. But it seems like they're needing to take their time to pin that down. There was a lot of confusion here. Earlier in the day, an individual was
have somebody
arrested.
in custody,
Then we
but I don't
learned that
think
person
that-
was released. We just heard that person had been
I don't think
arrested
it's
for
going to be
obstruction of
that
justice.
open and closed.
Authorities there clarified that the person of interest currently in custody is another person, so a second person
Right.
that they believe
I feel like it's
is
more than one-
most
more than one
likely the
person.
shooter. So we are still waiting for details. We do not have that person's identification. We don't have very many details at all, except for the fact that they believe that the shot was likely taken from a roof. The university told me they believe they know which building. We actually, our confirmed team has created a map, so we see it's a few hundred feet away from the location of Charlie Kirk, who is down there in that sort of almost like a small amphitheater area on low ground, making it an easier target for somebody with a gun in an elevated
this is weird
location.
because
Yeah, absolutely. When I hear you say
obviously
all that,
this guy
it
wasn't
just
just
checks so
walking
many
around
boxes
with
when
all
you
these
talk about a
people, got on
vulnerable
top of a
perspective.
roof,
and to
pulled
have
his fire,
essentially
his
that
rifle off, got in
amphitheater
position and shot him.
style setting, to have so
So,
many
like, he
buildings
had to
close
be
by.
in
I mean, this seems like something that
pre-planning
would have raised
this
the level of concern
assassination.
for anyone who's
So
looking
in order
at
to
the security
pre-plan the
apparatus behind
assassination,
this.
you have to know
That's
exactly where to
right, but,
be in
you know, it
reference to where
seems
Charlie
that
was
Kirk's
going to be.
team, who was
Like,
there,
you
who does
don't-
have a
I
security
don't think that you
team,
go and
that they were
pick
sort of
that spot
checking
out that
the
day
immediate
at that time
area,
and
and
not
they
be
felt
seen on
confident
camera. Like, no.
that there wasn't a threat. Now, in hindsight, looking back, given the resources,
believe
we
that.
learned about 6 police officers were there for about 3,000 people. I think, you know, anyone in security would say that is not enough to secure a vulnerable location like that one.
You know, we've been hearing from, of course, so many witnesses who were there when you consider how many students had to experience this, and so many young students.
And not
also.
only was
I
it
do want to play
planned, but I think it was
of the
planned
interview
by.
that we had earlier
I think
today.
that
Yeah, it's like a courtyard.
somebody around
there was
him
definitely
has
security.
infiltrated him that
I mean,
does
I'm
not
I'm
have his best
an expert
interests
on
at
security,
heart.
but you know they had the guys
Because, like I
with
said, somebody would, in
little
order
curly
to
wire
take that
coming out. So I
position,
assume that those were
you would
security
have to
detail.
know exactly where
It
he's
was
going to
definitely
be.
there.
But no metal
And if
detectors.
that's not the case,
No,
that means
there were
you're
no
telling
metal
me that
detectors.
you
There was no
walked in
checking
that
anything.
area
Yeah, so
around
you
that
hear
area
him say right
and
there, no
found
metal
that spot,
detectors,
so
no
they
checking
should
of
be able to see
anything.
you
Some
somewhere
people
on
saying that there
camera
weren't really even
if you're
tickets. It
searching
could just
for a
be something
spot
that anyone could
in
walk up
opposition to
to.
where he's
Anyone
at.
could
So I
walk
don't-
in,
I don't understand
exactly,
that.
with bags. No bags were being
So they
checked.
have to be able to find
Guns
him.
could have been concealed. So it seemed like a very upbeat environment. Everybody seemed excited to be there. There's video of Charlie Kirk himself, you know, throwing like a baseball cap, souvenirs out to the crowd. And he was sitting there under like a little covered tent area, taking questions, inviting this debate. He seemed very relaxed in the video right before the shot was fired.
You know, we also understand as part of the material that investigators will be parsing through in the coming days and weeks that they are looking at security, closed-circuit television cameras and what they captured on campus from this. But you also, when you have that many students, there are also a lot of phone cameras that are recording what's going on.
Right.
How do you start to go through and sift through a lot of this eyewitness video that
I
might
think
be
that
out
they
there?
should
It's a
make
great
it to
question.
whereas
And even in just the last
everybody
few hours,
can
the most
have
interesting
a
videos
link
have
that
been
they can go
surfacing on social
and-
media. So I've
and
been
upload
reviewing
the
videos
stuff
of
that they have
an
in
individual
response
appearing
to
to
try
be
to help them
running
figure out
on
who did
top
this.
of a roof.
Because we want them to get the
Unconfirmed, we
right
don't
person
know
on
if
this
that was the shooter, but that has been circulating online. And guess what? Law enforcement, they're seeing all of those videos too. So they're monitoring social media and then they're doing their own investigation. So it's really interesting. You know, now in this day and age with everybody having cell phones, a lot of us are seeing the very nuts and bolts of the
It's crazy
investigative
that
material.
I actually saw that, though, like, saw the way that he was hit. That's
police,
crazy.
those FBI
That happened.
agents themselves are looking at.
Where does the investigation? I know
Why? But
that there are so many
why
different
is
branches
it
that it could go from
that-
at this point, especially when you have federal, state, and local authorities involved in all those different jurisdictions. But where does it really go from here that you're going to be looking out for in the coming days?
Well, this individual who is in custody has already been asked, why did you do it? This individual has already been asked to give a list of people that they were in contact with. Those search warrants are like they're going to hustle and try to get a hold of the technology, the phones, the laptops as soon as possible
I don't
and
trust
scrub
nothing
those.
that the media puts out or what,
So
what
all
the,
of that
what
is
people put
underway.
out.
But
Like,
let's pull back
I
the
don't know, you can't
aperture
trust
and
these
take a
people.
look at what's going on in this country. A little more than a year ago, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. We just saw Charlie Kirk get shot on video a few hours ago. We are right off of that Minneapolis school shooting where those children were shot.
See, what they're gonna try
two
to
of them
do,
killed. It's
they're gonna
just
try to make this
an
about-
unbelievable environment that we're living in right now. And we keep saying it, but it does feel
and
like
if
it is
they're gonna make it,
even
now we need
more
to take
of
away
a
your gut thing. I think that's the angle that they're going to try to
tense
take.
environment in this
And
country.
this is
as
more
it
of a
does
reason
continue to seem
as
to ratchet up
why
to a new level
we should
every
not
single
go the
week,
route
every
of
single month.
trying to
Do you
confiscate
see
people's guns.
security changing when it comes to these kinds of mass
Definitely to
events,
change their
whether or
security.
not they're political and involving
All the
a
conservative
figure like
speakers need
Charlie
to
Kirk or
reconsider
people gathering together?
the way that they
Well, they
go
might
out
be
and do these
canceled if
events.
they're outside. When you hold an event indoors, there are just more opportunities to be checking. Now, The bad thing about that is it's harder for people to escape if they're inside of a venue. So there are pros and cons.
That's a good point.
As security, as these teams are planning out these kinds of events. But we're a democratic country, so politics happens out in the open. Politicians or activists like Charlie Kirk, they go out and they try to talk to people, draw crowds, and convince them of their way of thinking. So I don't know if there's going to be a full pullback. We just heard from a local member of Congress who's saying we won't be deterred. We are not going to be intimidated. So
they took out a good. They took out a strong, good person too.
This attack in Utah does come, though, nearly a year after a man attempted to gun down President Trump on his Florida golf course. And CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman joins us now with more on that. Katrina, thank you for being with us today. So 59-year-old Ryan Ruth has pleaded not guilty now to charges of attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate, also assaulting a federal officer, and several firearm charges. So opening statements in that trial are expected tomorrow. What do these attacks, being nearly a year apart, say about the rise in political violence that we're seeing play out in this country?
I mean, Nancy, we are seeing an increase in threats of violence related to political disagreements, to political aims. As Anna said, we don't yet know the motivations of the shooter, but these threats are escalating. There were Minnesota legislators who were Democrats who were attacked. There's also an increased threat to judges. I recently interviewed Judge Esther Salas, whose son was actually killed by someone who was trying to go after her. And now there are judges around the country receiving pizzas in her son's name. And what that means is they're saying that we know where you live and what happens to her son could happen to you. We're now seeing this shooting of Charlie Kirk. And it's almost a year to the day of that attempted assassination of Donald Trump, who's now president, but at the time was a candidate, by Ryan Ruth. That was on September 15th, 2024. Yeah. And just about 2 months before that was that first assassination attempt on Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. And Charlie Kirk, of course, as you've been talking about, was instrumental in helping Trump get elected for a second time.
Katrina, can you also walk us through how the legal process works in high-profile shootings like this one, and also in the case of Ryan Ruth?
Well, you know, it will occur the way a traditional criminal investigation would, but of course with a heightened scrutiny. First, they will arrest and then charge the suspect. There will be an intensive investigation of their cell records, of their electronics. In the case of Ryan Ruth, there was actually an interesting twist. While investigating him, they looked at the computer of his son, Orrin Ruth, and actually found child pornography. His son is now in federal prison on 7 years. Ryan Ruth, in fact, wants his son to come be a character witness for him in this trial. But after the investigation is complete here, there will be an indictment, and then likely this will be some form of murder charge. In Trump's case, it was an attempted assassination charge, but Charlie Kirk is not a federal government officer.
All right, Katrina Kaufman, thank you. And earlier, Utah Governor Spencer Cox shared his reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, as well as the state of political violence in this country.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. When someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened.
And we will have much more coverage on the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk in Utah. But first, a quick break. You're watching The Daily Report.
Ready? Yeah. You ready? At 1, 2, 3.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking.
No matter how you start your day, one thing is clear.
CBS Mornings is the best way to start your day.
Clearly. Look at his outfit, man. Give me some love, baby.
We got a toy. Look at this.
Oh, no!
clearly fun.
Hi, Otis. Hi.
Smart.
We've got tips to save on clothes, tech, and more.
Clearly
And
uplifting.
kind of think about
Goosebumps
these
right now.
people
Oh, my heart is sore.
are
I got
dumb
one.
enough to get on here and say good for him. They're happy
bulb
that
went
this
out
man
right there. I saw it
died
go.
like that. That's crazy.
Okay, watch this.
We're stupid.
CBS Mornings is clearly brighter. It's a bright, bright, bright way to start your day.
That's sad.
Clearly,
That's
CBS
bad
Mornings
business right
weekdays
there,
at 7 on CBS.
This is CBS.
I do pray that Candace ups our security, like not just at events, but just walking around in general. Because if somebody's taking the risk to get this man murdered like that in front of all those people, they're gonna stop at no ends. They're gonna get who they're looking for. They made it seem like this man was a part of a gang, and it was another gang robbery. They caught him slipping, and that was their ops.
What happens when
This
you
in his
get
own way is actually
conversation
worse
over
than
conflict?
like
I think they've taught me to
gang members
When we
killing
follow
each
the
other.
human side of the headline.
I'm not asking that we ignore disability, rather that we do not ignore ability.
When news takes you where the story happens.
We've just crossed into Lebanon.
When the world's best journalists come together
at
to
Utah
cover your
Valley
world,
University,
you get
they
the
do
all-new
say
CBS Evening
a
News
person of interest
every
is na-
weeknight. The CBS News original 60 Minutes opens its archives
Pretty loose for a Friday night.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not my first show.
with moments you haven't heard before.
It's almost more fun that way when you have something to prove.
Listen to 60 Minutes, a second look, wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't miss true crime anytime you want, anywhere you go, with 48 Hours Podcasts. Real crimes, real lives, real justice. Listen to 48 Hours Podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. We are following reaction from across the political spectrum to the killing of Charlie Kirk.
That's the worst
Former
part. That's the
President
worst
Joe
part
Biden
about it.
writing on X,
Like,
there is no place in our
for
country
him
for
to
this
go out
kind
like
of
that,
violence. It must end now.
behind
Jill
his
and I are
family,
praying for
his
Charlie Kirk's
wife and
family and
kids.
loved ones. California Governor
And you can
Gavin
see
Newsom
that,
saying
the
there,
kind of
the
relationship
attack
that they
on
had
Charlie
was
Kirk
kind of
is
the kind of relationship
disgusting,
that you would wanna
vile,
have
and
with your partner,
reprehensible
too.
in the United States of America. We must
yeah, man,
reject
that's-
political violence
that's
in
sad.
every form. And Florida Governor
And I
Ron
don't
DeSantis
trust
also
the
writing,
governor that's over
rest
there
in
that's speaking
peace,
on it. I don't
Charlie
trust
Kirk.
nobody
Casey and
that's
I
around
are
his team
praying
now,
for his family.
because
Charlie was a
he
warrior
was
for liberty,
literally out there
and his
like a
murder
sitting
is a
duck,
tragedy
and
for our nation.
no,
Lawmakers observed
if
a
they can't
moment
find
of
this
silence
guy,
for Kirk
oh,
on the
there
House
was
floor.
no cameras
However,
that got his
the
feet.
moment
Like,
was cut
now,
short. Colorado's Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert asked for a spoken prayer, saying
wouldn't trust none of
silent
them.
prayers get silent results. And that then led to outbursts from the Democratic side of the chamber, with the speaker having to call for order. Jordan Last was
Another
at
person
today's
on a roof
event and saw the
shooting
shooting. And
somebody
here's
that's
what
on
he
the
told Julia
conservative
Goodrich
side, and
earlier
no
about what
police
he witnessed.
officers, none of his security, and nothing.
We were only
are
about
watching the roofs.
10 or 15 minutes into the event,
They
and
knowing that people out here
I was kind of near the line
trying to
where
kill
people
these
were asking
conservative
questions.
commentators.
I couldn't actually see Charlie,
and nobody's watching the
but
roofs.
I heard just a loud pop, and in my mind I was like, okay, could be a firework, could be something, but I had a cement kind of pillar or barrier behind me, and just to be cautious, I kind of went behind it. The people with me were like, what was that? And then that's when people started saying to us, hey, Charlie's been shot. Like, I saw him fall. And then I knew, okay, this is an active shooter situation. I crouched down. A lot of us crouched down. We really didn't know what to do. I was just kind of waiting for, I guess, other shots to go off. Maybe 30 seconds after the shot, people started to yelling, run. There was a door maybe 10 feet from us, and people started filing through that. And so we said, all right, let's go. I crouched down, went to the door, and I just took off running. And, I guess ran as far as I could until I felt safe to the parking lot, and then eventually to my truck. And it was with a couple other people, and we all kind of stuck together. And we didn't know each other beforehand, but stuck together. We're just talking about it afterwards. So that's basically what happened to me. I was maybe 50 to 100 feet directly to the right of Charlie Kirk when this happened.
Leading up to that, I'm curious about your thoughts on security. There was a lot of people there. It was an open crowd. It's an open carry state, not an open carry campus. But talk about kind of the optics of security before this happened.
Yeah, so when I came in, I noticed his security team. I actually walked right by them. They were checking things out. But I did notice, I mean, no one's checking for weapons. No one checked me whatsoever. And honestly, I did think during the event before it happened, like, you know, anybody could have a weapon here. So, yeah. UVU, I do believe, is a concealed carry campus, I believe. I just checked that out this morning or last night. But yeah, I don't know. Those are my observations.
Under Biden, our young people own nothing and they are miserable. Donald Trump refuses to accept this fake, pathetic, mutilated version of the American dream. When he was president, young people were richer than ever before, and he will do it again.
And that was Charlie Kirk speaking at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee last July. The Trump ally also spoke at the RNC back in 2020. That was during the president's first term in the White House. Joining us now with more on Charlie Kirk is CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, thanks for being with us on this day. Help us take a step back and give us some perspective on Kirk's role in today's conservative movement. It is hard to understate the scope of his influence.
Yeah, especially among younger conservatives or younger Republican voters, or those at least that spend a lot of time online. Kirk began his Turning Point USA organization about 12 years ago when he was only about 18, and inspired by the Tea Party movement, built it from there. It now includes Turning Point USA, which is a more of a political arm, and then even Turning Point Faith, which is designed to organize among those that are more religiously conservative. And so, you know, then there's a radio show, and there was podcasting, and there was a pretty vociferous social media feed that included highlights from the event like the one he was holding today, where you hold these, prove me wrong exchanges with people who may disagree with you. Like Anna said, one of the issues he talked a lot about in this country, guns in America. There would have been a conversation about that. Could have been something that was going on in the news or with sports. Certainly issues of faith and society in general, and then defending the Trump administration from those that disagreed with it. But the idea was that he would sit there, engage the person, try to have a, healthy and breezy back and forth. Maybe the other person walked away from it convinced. Maybe the other person walked away slightly angry. But the idea was he was trying to show his followers, you can have these kinds of healthy conversations, and here's how you can defend your viewpoint from the conservative perspective. And again, there are a lot of people in this country today, Nancy, who are learning about who he is for the first time. And that's because the way your social media feed works may not serve you that kind of content. That's to the detriment of everyone. You're not seeing the other side necessarily. And so this will be an opportunity for people to learn about maybe what he stood for and what he stood against, and whether you agree with it or not, that's what he was out there doing. And that it ended so violently and so unexpectedly is really going to be a profound marker on the conservative movement. You've seen the reaction from the president, the vice president, the Secretary of Defense, other senior White House officials like Stephen Miller, for example, others who work in the West Wing who were close with Charlie, who were inspired by the activism that he led, and in many cases may very well be in the jobs they're in because Charlie Kirk told the president, yeah, that guy should have that job, or she should be working in that part of the administration, because we know that during the transition last year, given what he had done to help mobilize the conservative vote for the president, given how close he'd become with the president and his son Donald Trump Jr. especially, he was at Mar-a-Lago in transition meetings, cherry-picking people for senior government roles, urged them to put Kash Patel at the FBI, would have steered them towards certain people to put in the cabinet, and then went out and used his movement to make sure that these people got the votes needed from fellow Republicans who may have been skeptical about their qualifications, and made sure they got their jobs. And others thinking ahead to the future of the party and the future of the MAGA movement knew that they had to be cultivating him and those that followed him, because they are the foot soldiers in the conservative movement today. And guys like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, and plenty of others are the ones that the party leans on now to help draw attention to issues or to certain candidates who may need some money and manpower, and to make sure that they understand why it is the president is doing what he's doing.
And Ed, the thing is, it's an incredible impact for someone who is just 31 years old, and yet he's been part of this conservative scene for quite some time. He started quite early on the grassroots level. Can you talk a little bit about that impact that not only he has had as a political figure in his own right, but also the movement he has helped spawn through Turning Point itself?
Well, yeah, and that's just, we heard some on our air earlier today saying how attending and speaking at a Turning Point event could be just as effective as speaking at a Trump rally in terms of the mileage you could get out of doing so. That clips of it would spread, that the word of mouth would spread, that the donations might come in, that the volunteers willing to show up to help you because they liked something you talked about would suddenly materialize. That there was real equity, or you could get results, in essence, for being associated with them. There were conferences held by Turning Point and its various entities earlier this year that drew several senior Trump administration officials, because before their government work and during it, they understood they were there in part because he made it happen. He helped find the voters necessary in the swing states. He helped draw the support needed to make sure the Republican senators voted for them, maybe even some Democrats. And he was sustaining that support by talking about them, having them on as guests, and making sure that his followers knew about them. But again, we talk, Nancy, in this country about making sure that young voters are engaged and that they participate in the process. That is what he was doing, whether you agree with him or not, whether you find what he said, acceptable or vile. He was a voice in the system, and he was shaping the country to his liking through the work he was doing. And we've seen it on the left, we've seen it on the right, we've seen it